This meeting will be called to order June 17th, 2025. Time now is 6 o'clock. Roll call.
Mayor Palmer,
Here.
Counselor Beachhead, Counselor Bergren, Counselor Frazier. Absent. Counselor Martin. Counselor Stancliffe. Here. We have a quorum.
Please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right. Public input. Done. Action items. So we're going to jump right in. This is resolution 25-R-33, a resolution declaring the city certification and eligibility to receive state revenue sharing. Billy.
Okay, Mayor and Council, before us is resolutions 25-R-33, a resolution declaring the city's certification of eligibility to receive state revenue sharing. I'm going to read this to make sure that we get it exact. And so the recitals, section A, whereas OS 221.760 provides as follows. Section 1, the officer responsible for dispersing funds to cities under ORS 323.455, 366.785 to 366.820 and 471.805 shall, in the case of a city located within a county having more than 100,000 inhabitants, according to the most recent federal decennial census, disperse such funds only if the city provides 4 or more of the following services. 1, police protection. 2, fire protection. 3, street construction, maintenance, and lighting. 4, sanitary sewers. 5, storm sewers. 6, planning, zoning, subdivision control. 7, 1 or more utility services. And B, whereas the city council recognized the desirability of assisting the state officer responsible for determining the eligibility of cities to receive such funds in accordance with ORS 221.760. Now, therefore, the City Council of the City of Gold Hill, Oregon resolves that the City of Gold Hill, pursuant to ORS 221.760, the City of Gold Hill hereby certifies that it provides the following 4 or more municipal services enumerated in Section 1, ORS 221 through 760, street construction, maintenance and lighting, storm sewers, planning, zoning, and subdivision control, and 1 or more utility services, water. And this would be adopted by the City Council of Gold Hill this 17th day of June, 2025.
Councilors, do we have any questions this time? At this time, I'd like to entertain a motion.
We'll make a motion that we pass resolution number 25-R-33.
Okay. Any other questions?
Mayor, you have to call your second. Okay, there we go.
Thank you, Mayor. Just. Okay, so I have roll call.
Counselor Beachhead,
Yes.
Counselor Bergren,
Yes.
Counselor Martin, Counselor Stancliffe.
Yes.
Motion carries.
Thank you. Okay, next on is public comments, state revenue sharing. Billy?
So at this time, we invite the public to comment on how they would like the city to, hear comments from the public regarding the city's election to receive state revenue sharing for the 2025 and 2025-6 budget year. So the public at this time could weigh in on how they would like us to spend the revenue sharing dollars.
Will we just move on?
As there's no public, we can move on.
So number 5, another action item. This is resolution 25-R-34, resolution declaring the city elections to receive state revenue sharing.
So whereas we have certified that we're eligible. We've opened for public comment, how that should be spent. Now we can declare that we want to receive the state revenue sharing. So Resolution 25R34 states, whereas the city of Gold Hill has levied property taxes in the preceding fiscal year and is therefore qualified to receive state revenue sharing funds. And whereas the city of Gold Hill Budget Committee held a public hearing on the possible uses of the funds on May 29th, 2025. And whereas the city of Gold Hill City Council held a public hearing on the proposed use of these funds in relation to the entire city budget on June 17, 2025. Now therefore, the city council of the city of Gold Hill resolves that the city of Gold Hill pursuant to ORS 221.770, the city of Gold Hill hereby elects to receive state revenues for fiscal year 2025 to 2025 or to 26.
Any questions, councilors? Okay, at this time, I'll entertain a motion.
I'll make a
Second.
motion to approve 25-R-34.
I second that.
I have a motion. I have a second. Roll call, please.
Counselor Beachhead,
Yes.
Counselor Berggren,
Yes.
Counselor Martin, Counselor Stancliff.
Yes.
Motion carries.
Thank you. Under action items number 5, we have resolution 25-R-35, a resolution authorizing funds to be used in a financial management of the city of Gold Hill, Oregon for the 2025-2026 budget.
And this resolution is a resolution describing the funds and the ways the finances will be spent. So 25R35 is a resolution for the financial management of the budget for 25-26 budget year. So I'll read this one as well. Be it resolved by the City Council of the City of Gold Hill, Oregon, that the following funds be authorized, established, and used to record the financial affairs of the City of Gold Hill, Oregon, in accordance with applicable laws and administrative rules of the state of Oregon. Governmental funds. The general fund is the city's general operating fund, and it accounts for the administrative and parks department and service functions of the city. Principal sources of cash consist of license and permit and fees, franchise fees, fines, forfeitures, intergovernmental revenues, and investment income, and the base levy tax. Administration is funded from franchise fees, state revenue sharing, licenses, permit fees, liquor tax, marijuana tax, cigarette tax, transient room tax, grant funds, and investment income. Major expenses are salary related, as all personnel are paid in the general fund. Special revenue funds. These funds account for the proceeds from specific revenue sources that are legally restricted to expenditures for specified purposes. The Parks Fund is funded from a park utility service fee, transient room tax, facility reservation fees, and interfund transfers. Major expenditures are grant funded. The Street Fund accounts for the city's share of the state of Oregon's special gas tax revenues and the street utility service fee. This revenue is restricted to street-related maintenance repair operations, including sidewalk and storm drains. The Stormwater Fund is funded by the stormwater utility service fee. This revenue is restricted to stormwater-related maintenance and repair, including ditches and storm drains, and is used to reduce pollution to our river. System development funds, water, stormwater, and sewer, are used to account for all system development charges related to supply, treatment, distribution of water and drainage, and flood control in accordance with state law. The sewer collection has ended and the fund balances were transferred to Rogue Valley Sewer Service. The Water Reserve Fund was established to reserve funds for water-related capital projects and debt repayment. Any remaining balances, well, that, I believe that's an error there, but it says any remaining balance will be transferred to the water fund and this fund will no longer be used. The Sewer Reserve Fund was established to reserve funds for future expansion of the wastewater treatment plant and for wastewater related capital projects. All the revenue was transferred to Rogue Valley Sewer Service. The state grant for water capital project funds was created for funds received during fiscal year 24-25 for improvements to our water treatment plant and distribution. The project work continues. Debt service funds. The city has 3 debt instruments, 2 relating to water system and 2 relating to sewer system. Water intake relocation is $15,075 a year through 2029. Water treatment plant improvements, $7,565.22 a year through 2042. And the sewer collection system improvements, $27,297 a year through 2056. Each of these debts are paid via charges for service from each of their respective enterprise funds, with some historically being transferred to a reserve fund, then to the individual debt funds, and some transferring directly from operating to debt. Sewer loans transfer assumption to RVSS has been authorized by USDA before the end of 2025. The first of the two sewer has been transferred. The second is pending by August. Enterprise funds, utility funds. These funds account for the operations of the city that are financed and operated with the intent that the costs, expenses, including depreciation of providing goods and services to the general public on a continuing basis, be financed and recovered primarily through user charges. The water fund accounts for operating the water system of the city. Revenue is derived from charges for services for water users. Primary expenditures are related to operational costs and repairs and maintenance. The sewer fund is a legacy account that receives delinquent utility revenues. These remaining revenue payments will be transferred to Rogue Valley Sewer System. And if the council would indulge a recommendation for a amendment to this resolution before adoption.
Under the, what you just read said that was a,
So I read it in its full, but under the general fund, the and Parks Department, I would recommend be removed. The Parks Department now has its own fund, and that was kind of the legacy language there. And then
there a typo.
The water.
under the water reserve, this was the language from last year that said any remaining balance will be transferred to the water fund and this fund will no longer be used. I would recommend that we scratch that line that says any remaining balance and just an amendment to delete that line.
Okay.
And then I would make a recommendation for two more amendments if you would. So under the street fund, adding that a portion of the fund is transferred to the general fund to cover the personnel costs related to street activities.
Say that again.
A portion of the street fund is transferred to the general fund to cover the personnel costs related to street services. And that exact same comment to be added to the water fund. That a portion of the water fund is transferred to the general fund to cover the personnel costs related to water services. These last two I'm bringing to you after a conversation with a citizen that brought up that to make sure that we're accounting for the personnel costs have been moved to the general fund. And for us to transfer money from dedicated funds to the general fund is only to cover those purposes from those funds and not for any other purposes in the city. And so I want to make sure these statements are added to cover those expenses, since it was only in last year's budget that we moved all personnel to the general fund.
So are you still looking for? We need to correct this before.
I believe it can be done by amendments. And they can be done individually or all together. And if somebody needs me to repeat what I said, or if they have it and they want to make the motion.
Okay. Go ahead.
I'd make a motion to adopt resolution number 25-R-35 with the recommended amendments.
Second that.
Okay, motion. I have a second. Any other questions? Roll call, please.
Counselor Beachide,
Yes.
Counselor Bergen,
Yes.
Counselor Martin, Counselor Stancliff.
Yes.
Thank you.
Can I go
Motion
ahead and
carries.
sign this or no? Wait, don't we do the,
Correct.
got it. All right. Nope. So, resolution, item C, under 5. Resolution 25-R-36, a resolution adopting the budget, making appropriations and levying taxes for the city of Gold Hill, Oregon, for the 2025-2026 budget year.
This is the big one.
Yep.
The recitals are, whereas the City of Gold Hill Budget Committee held a public hearing reviewing and approving the city manager's proposed budget for fiscal year 25-26 on May 29th, 2025. And whereas the City of Gold Hill Budget Committee held a public hearing approving the property tax rate on May 29th, 2025. Whereas the City of Gold Hill City Council held a public hearing reviewing and approving the Budget Committee's approval budget on June 17th, 2025. Now therefore, the City Council of the City of Gold Hill, Oregon resolves as follows. 1, the City of Gold Hill, Oregon hereby adopts the budget for the fiscal year 2025-26 in the total amount of $3,570,168. This budget is now on file at City Hall in Gold Hill, Oregon. And 2, that the amounts shown below are hereby appropriated for the fiscal year beginning July 1st, 2025 for the following purposes. The general fund, number 10, administrative costs, $801,307. Contingency, $94,441 for a total general fund expense, $895,748. Parks Fund 15, administrative costs, $84,561. Contingency, $5,403. Total, that should say Parks Fund, $89,964. Street Fund, administrative is $376,921. The interfund transfer of $40,000. The contingency, $100,291. For the total street fund, $517,212. Sewer Fund 35, the special payment to RVSS, the anticipated amount is $8,500, $8,500. Stormwater Fund 37, administrative is $18,600. Contingency, $3,524 for $22,124 total stormwater fund. Water Fund 40, administrative $1,016,496. Interfund transfer $190.75. And $190,075. Debt services $7,565. And contingency $131,489 for a total water fund of $1,345,625. The state grant water capital fund 65, capital outlay is $544,163, contingency $100,000, with a total of $644,163 in the state grant water capital fund. SEC Water Fund, a contingency of $4,260. SEC Stormwater Fund, a contingency of $200. The Collection System Bond Fund is debt services of $27,297. The OCDBG Fund is debt services of $15,075. And total appropriations for this year's budget is $3,130,560. Total contingency appropriated $439,608. Total unappropriated and reserve is 0, with a grand total fiscal year 25-26 budget of $3,570,168. Section 3 is that the following ad valorem property taxes are hereby imposed upon an assessed value of all taxable property for all taxable property within the city for tax year 2025 to 2026 at the rate of $1.6792 per 1,000 assessed of value for permanent rate tax. Section 4, that the taxes imposed are hereby categorized for purposes of Article 11, Section 11B as subject to general government limitation. The permanent rate tax for Oregon is $1.6792 per 1,000, and total debt service is $790,543.
Counselors, are there any questions on this budget?
I would make one recommendation. Just the Scrivener errors be a part of the amendment, and I'll get that fixed for you.
You're talking to where it says total general,
Correct.
put it as
Th-
Park
that-
Street.
that- yes.
Yes, okay. All right, at this time, I'd like to entertain a motion in a second on passing this budget.
Second that.
We also need you to put in there to amend
With the fund names
with
corrected.
the fund names.
There you go.
That works. Did I have a second? Okay. Roll call, please.
Counselor Beachhead,
Yes.
Counselor Bergen,
Yes.
Counselor Frazier, Counselor Martin, Counselor Stancliff.
Yes.
Motion carries.
Thank you. All right, so it looks like we have covered everything. So do I have any other questions at this time? If not, this meeting is adjourned.